Thank you for joining us. Are you ready to breathe, move, and flow? Today you will be led through a Pilates class that focuses on empathy.
Chest lift. With your knees bent up and your feet supported by the mat, interlace your fingers behind your head and begin to lift the chest. Curl the spine from the middle back and keep the feet light on the floor.
Empathy is not fusing to an experience. It's attaching to the emotions underneath an experience. Empathy is connecting to the feeling under the experience, not the experience itself.
For crisscross, we'll keep the hands as they are behind the head. Elevate the legs to tabletop. Begin by extending the right leg away from the body and then twist towards your left knee. Think about rolling across the shoulders to switch. Keep the back of the pelvis imprinted as you rotate from side to side. Also, avoid letting the elbows fold into your ears. Think wide chest and sternum, keeping your elbows wide. Upper back will stay cinched.
Sympathy is feeling for the person. Empathy is feeling with the person. Empathy builds connection. Sympathy fuels disconnection. When we are aware of our own truths, we can then be open and acknowledge another truth.
Side lying leg lift with lateral flexion and extension. With your right elbow and right hip down, extend the top leg straight out from your hip and extend the upper arm past the head. Begin to bend and extend the top arm and top leg in toward each other, and then lengthen them back out to start. Your underbody stays active and you'll lift away from your supporting arm.
Empathy is endless. Empathy gives us the ability to connect and take the perspective of someone else. Feelings do not need to be rooted in logic. Feelings just are. Trying to use logic to work around or through an emotion may fuel frustration.
We'll progress this movement and transition to our single-sided kneeling plank. You'll float the bottom hip away from the floor and the top arm and leg will stay extended. Let's bend and extend the top arm and top leg in toward each other and then lengthen them back out to start. Think about curling the upper ribs as the knee and the elbow bend in, and then lengthening the upper ribs as the leg and arm extend back out.
We are all different, so showing empathy is not a one-size-fits-all experience. When you are showing empathy, there is room for imperfection because the connection is present and real.
You'll lower the hips down from here and keep the supporting arm and elbow anchored. I'm going to begin with both my knees bent forward at a diagonal from my hips. Then I'll add the optional progression to extend both legs into a full teaser. We'll start by pressing into the hand of your supporting arm. Then you'll roll to your back, the back of your tailbone, with the knees and the legs in tabletop. From here, you'll bend the knees and then roll back to your same hip. I like to think about doing a single arm push-up as I push away from the floor and lift to teaser, and then carefully returning back to my hip to start. Your progression is lengthening out both legs into that full teaser position and then bending them back to tabletop to transition back to your hip.
Imagine a person, real or imaginary, that connected and had the strength to sit with you in your uncomfortable emotions. That person did not try to fix the challenge. They were solely, truly present. What was that experience like for you? What feelings arose through that connection? How did that relationship grow from that experience?
Side lying leg lift with lateral flexion and extension. With your left hip and left elbow down, extend the top leg straight out from your hip and extend the upper arm past the head. Begin to bend and extend the top arm in to meet the top knee, and then lengthen them back out to start. Your underbody, ribs, and corset muscles remain active. You are pressing lightly into the floor with your supporting arm, as if to press the shoulder away.
Empathy is allowing yourself to consider another feelings around an experience. Through empathy, there is room for alternative perspectives.
We'll hover the hips to transition to our single-sided kneeling plank. Lift the bottom hip away from the floor and the top arm and leg will stay extended. Let's bend and extend the top arm and top leg in toward each other and then lengthen them back out to start. Hips and shoulders remain stacked, one on top of the other.
True compassion and true empathy is towards all. It knows no bounds. Empathy is considering how a situation, words, and experiences impact another person, animal, and life.
We'll roll to our teaser from here. Press into the hand of your supporting arm and roll to the back of your tailbone with the knees and the legs table-topped. Then you'll bend the elbow to roll back to your same hip. Adding in your progression if your practice allows, we'll try lengthening out both legs into your teaser, pointing the toes, and then bending those knees back to roll back to your hip. Make this movement as fluid as possible.
Take a moment to notice where your thoughts are going. Gently bring your thoughts back to this present moment. Notice what comes up in the moment of quiet.
Single straight leg stretch. We'll lay on our back and extend both legs up with the low back connected to the mat. We'll lower one leg down at a time. Begin with the right leg, lowering it down to a 45-degree angle, pausing, and then lifting that leg back up to meet the other leg in space. Now switch. Each time you exhale, picture deflating the belly, and then inhale to lower the leg back down. Keep the low back flat.
Shame is a social concept. It happens between people and it heals between people. First, understanding your own feelings. When we name our emotions, we tame our emotions, leaning into the full spectrum of emotions.
Scissor. With your hands folded behind your head, extend the legs back up together. Lower the right leg down to scissor kick and rotate towards the left side of your body. The legs will pass each other in a diagonal space to switch. Keep your chest lifted, position, and roll across the shoulders to transition from side to side. Make sure your pelvis, once again, stays unmoving and avoid the temptation to let your elbows hug in towards your head. Think wide elbows, wide sternum. Squeeze the upper back so that you're able to limit the rotation to your thoracic spine or your middle back.
Activating your senses. What do you see? Taste, smell, touch, hear. What do you notice in your body as you lean towards empathy? What are you feeling? Integrating those feelings within you.
Extension and prone on your belly. Your arms interlace beneath the low back. Keep the pubic bone anchored and begin to extend the spine, elevating your shoulders and sternum away from the mat. Your arms float up as the back extends. Pause at the top of the movement, sending awareness to your entire back body. And then begin to melt back onto the floor with control. Even though this is a posterior chain emphasis, your core stays active to support the spine. We're using those corset muscles throughout the movement.
Being able to connect to another person's feelings and then being able to communicate that understanding says, I see you and I hear you. Sharing that understanding does not necessarily mean you agree. Agreement is not a requirement of empathy.
Swim. Lay in your pronated position on your belly once again. Extend the arms up towards the ears and the legs out from your hips. Keeping the front of the pelvis anchored on all 3 points, begin to extend the spine from the mid-back. Send energy to the toes and the fingertips. Squeeze your upper back. Now begin to swim, reaching the opposite arm up with the opposite leg, and then switch. Start the movement slow, with the option to increase your speed once you establish how steady your pelvis is. If you're able to keep all 3 points of your pelvis anchored and still, that's an indication that you can increase your speed.
Imagine yourself with a friend and choosing empathy for that friend during their time of need. It takes great courage to sit with and not be overcome by the discomfort of another. To be purely present and not moving towards fixing may be a challenge.
Plank. With hands underneath the shoulders, lengthen both legs back to plank. Shoulders are protected and protracted with your upper back slightly rounded. Spine is in neutral and you are sending length through the crown of your head.
Imagine yourself in the future knowing your goal, knowing the path to get there, and having the belief in yourself to stay on that path until you arrived. What is the smallest first step you can take to move towards that direction?
Pyramid. Pike the hips up and let the chin nod down slightly. Push the heels of your feet onto the floor. Let's prance the legs from this pike position. Bend one knee forward and press the opposite heel down. Quiet the hips as you prance and transition from leg to leg.
Thank you for exploring this Pilates class wave today. We hope it guides you through the rest of your day. If you like this class, please provide us with a thumbs up, a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future Mind and Body Pilates, a Wellness Approach classes.